Ethan had always prided himself on being a good husband. He and Claire had been together for 10 years, building a life filled with shared dreams and whispered promises. He believed in trust, in commitment, in the unbreakable bond of marriage. But betrayal has a way of creeping in unnoticed, until it's too late. It started with the little things. Claire's phone, once carelessly left on the kitchen counter, was now always clutched in her hand or tucked away in her purse. Late nights at work turned into early mornings, gone without explanation. The warmth in her voice had faded, replaced by an unfamiliar distance. Ethan told himself he was imagining things. That work was stressful. The people change over time. But the gnawing doubt refused to be silenced. One evening, when Claire left her laptop open, a message popped up at the corner of the screen. "Last night was unforgettable. I can't wait to see you again." Ethan's breath hitched. His hands trembled as he scrolled up, his heart pounding in his ears. The messages painted a devastating picture. Months of secret meetings, whispered promises to another man named Adrian. The words cut through him like a blade. For days, Ethan carried the weight of the truth alone, observing, waiting. He watched her lie with ease, listened as she told him she was working late while her location said otherwise. He needed undeniable proof, so he hired a private investigator. The results shattered him. Photos of Claire and Adrian, entwined in candlelit dinners, stolen kisses in parked cars, their secret world unfolding while he had been home alone, believing in a love that no longer existed. But Ethan wasn't a man who acted on impulse. He needed a plan, one that would make Claire face the depth of her betrayal. On their 10th wedding anniversary, he set the stage. He planned a grand dinner at their favorite restaurant, the one where he had proposed to her all those years ago. Claire arrived dressed beautifully, smiling, unaware of the storm waiting to unfold. They ate, they talked, and for a moment Ethan let himself pretend that everything was normal. Then with calm precision, he slid an envelope across the table. "What's this?" Claire asked, her fingers hesitant as she picked it up. "Just something I thought you should see." As she pulled out the contents, photographs of her and Adrian, printed messages of their secret conversations, her face drained of color. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. He leaned back, watching her, waiting. "Go on, explain," he said, his tone devoid of emotion. Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't supposed to mean anything." He let out a bitter laugh. "That's funny because it looks like it meant everything to you." Claire reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Please, Ethan, I still love you." He met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "No, Claire. You loved the idea of me. You loved what I provided. But if you truly loved me, you wouldn't have done this." A silence stretched between them, thick with finality. Then, with a slow exhale, Ethan stood. "Enjoy the rest of your evening," he said, tossing a signed divorce agreement onto the table before walking away. As he stepped out into the cool night air, he felt lighter. The pain was still there, a dull ache, but it no longer controlled him. He was free, ready to rebuild a life where betrayal had no place. And for the first time in months, he smiled. The following weeks were a blur. Ethan found himself navigating a world he never thought he'd enter. Lawyers, asset division, long conversations with well-meaning friends who either expressed shock or murmured that they had always suspected something, but none of that mattered anymore. The past was behind him. One afternoon, he received a message from Claire. He hesitated before opening it. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, can we talk?" He stared at the screen. For a moment, old emotions clawed at him. Memories of laughter, of lazy Sunday mornings in bed, of the way she once looked at him as if he were her whole world. But that world was gone now. She had made her choice. Ethan deleted the message without replying. Instead of dwelling, he decided to rebuild. He took up running again, something he had abandoned when his marriage had started to consume all his time. He booked a solo trip to Greece, somewhere they had once planned to visit together. The moment his plane touched down in Santorini, he felt something shift inside him. He spent his days wandering the whitewashed streets, letting the sun kiss his skin. He met new people, had long conversations over glasses of wine, and found a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. It was there, sitting by the Aegean Sea, that he realized something important. Claire's betrayal had broken him, yes, but it had also freed him. He no longer had to fight for someone who didn't fight for him. He no longer had to hold on to a love that had long since faded. For the first time in a decade, he was living for himself. When he returned home, he was different, stronger, wiser. Claire was no longer a wound, just a chapter he had finished reading. And Ethan? He was finally ready to write a new story.